Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest aliens and UFOs encounters video. I thought I would mix another one of these in here, mainly because the situation involving this abduction, if you could even call it that, actually occurred right out there in the wide open, and it was at an Aerosmith concert, if you could believe that. Now, normally when it comes to alien abductions, you always read about stories about things happening in the middle of nowhere, some far off farmland, or maybe a house that's out there in the middle of some forest. But here, at an Aerosmith concert at a parking lot, that definitely intrigued me. So it comes from the reddit.com website. They're from the subreddit Humanoid Encounters, and the user goes by the name of Scary Science 09. They actually titled theirs as My Parents' Strange Encounter in 1990. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here, and then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions. There is one big red flag, and I'm sure you'll catch it whenever the story comes about, and I'll mention that as well, but let me know what you guys and gals think afterward. So here's what they state. My parents have told this story to me numerous times throughout my life, and both of them and my older brother corroborate this story in exact detail. They seem genuinely terrified of what happened. They have told very few people about this experience. In the summer of 1990, my mom, 31, dad, 35, and my brother, 15, attended an Aerosmith concert in Ohio. After the concert, the three of them were walking to the parking lot in a huge crowd of people. My parents were standing on one side of the street, about to step off the curb, when they saw two hooded figures across the street. By the time their foot hit the pavements, the figures were directly in front of them. They seemed to float without feet and move from one side of the street to the other in an instant. The next thing they know, they are standing alone, not in the exact same spot that they were earlier, with their arms outstretched from the elbow, palms facing up, and their hands and forearms are tingling. They made their way back to the car and no one else was around. The parking lot was now empty except for their car. My brother was sitting on the bumper waiting for them and said he had been waiting for them for about 2 hours. My parents have no recollection of what happened during that 2-hour period. My brother says he was walking and he turned around and they were gone. And so he just went back to the car and waited. 2 weeks after this incident, my mom finds out that she is pregnant with me. They believe this may be the reason they were approached. I personally have never experienced anything unexplainable like this, but I do believe their story. I've never known them to make things up, and they are not psychotic. They believe this encounter was some kind of extraterrestrial being. I believe their experience was genuine, but I'm not certain that aliens are the explanation, but I'm also not ruling it out. This happened in a post-concert crowd with hundreds of people around. Has anyone had a similar experience or any insight on what could have happened to them? And then the user posted 3 updates, because it looks like this particular encounter had a whole bunch of comments, up to 200 comments, so they posted some updates. Update 1. For those of you saying they were dosed, I agree that this is a strong possibility, but I am not aware of any drug that can cause this. I shared this to the Reddit Psychonauts to see if they have any input. I'll update if I get any traction there. Update number 2. For those asking if I had a DNA test done, I did Ancestry and there wasn't anything crazy in the results. I have also had MRIs before and I have normal human anatomy. I do not think my mom got pregnant during this incident. She was already pregnant and just didn't know about it. Last update. At this point, I'm getting questions that are repetitive or not relevant. I'm turning off notifications, but if you have a question that hasn't been asked or if you want to talk about it, just DM me. Then that's it. That's everything that the user Scary Science 09 mentioned. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. You can see, right, how this is completely different from any other alien abduction out there. Can you imagine something like this happening at a concert, a parking lot? It seemed like people were going out. Like, in other words, the concert had finished, the Aerosmith concert was over, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were all going out into the parking lot, and who knows where else they were parking. And then that's when the mom and the dad, and supposedly, or maybe even the brother, saw these two hooded figures across the street, and they were apparently just staring at them. And then, like in the blink of an eye, in one single instant, they were no longer across the street. Now they were in front of them, and then the parents remembered nothing else. Like it was as if it was 1 second, it was one moment, and then another second, they were in another area, and this now was just them only, nobody else around them. And so they went back to their car, they went back to that area involving the parking lot. There was the brother just waiting for them, and then he revealed the shocking truth. He said that whenever he turned around, they were suddenly gone. Gives you the impression that he probably didn't see those two hooded figures, at least maybe, I don't know, but or maybe he just didn't recall them. But either way, though, he had seen them one moment and then they were gone the other. And the next revelation was it was 2 hours later. Now, where else do you hear that, right? Except alien abductions. You hear about lost time. You hear about people not realizing that it's suddenly another completely different time. It could be hours, it could be days later, and then when that happens, they cannot recall it at all. Like there's nothing that they can bring up that'll tell them exactly what occurred. And so when that happens, obviously that points to something like this, something involving the world of aliens and UFOs. But to have it be out there in the open like that, can you imagine that? These two hooded figures would have had to have been seen by many others there. Maybe they just didn't stand out because, again, it's a Aerosmith concert. Like people that go rock concerts and other type of concerts, like they're all dressed to the hilt, like when it comes to certain outfits and so on. So seeing two people in just hoods of some sort ain't exactly going to draw too much attention unless somebody, I guess, was able to peek inside the hood themselves and then see what the aliens look like. But considering that the impression was they were just out there, nobody was really minding their attention, but they were there. And then they somehow selected the mom and the dad for this type of abduction. Creepy stuff. Now, the user did mention this, and then also that's what I was thinking ahead of time too, the big red flags, drugs. What else do people do, right? When it comes to concerts, they take a lot of drugs. So the idea that the parents, 35, 31, they're at a concert like this, nobody's going to regulate that stuff, right? So is there a chance that they were in turn taking these type of drugs and then whatever it was caused them to not remember things afterward? It's possible. There is definitely that big red flag. But at the same time, the user mentions that they don't think there's any kind of drug that could do something like this. They're waiting on the other Redditors to provide more information on that. But if you move that to the side, then having this happen out there in the open, hundreds of people around, big parking lot, lots of cars, and then they were abducted like that. It makes you wonder what others might have seen or thought they've seen, and then what they did afterward. And it didn't seem like there was any kind of ruckus or any type of hoopla when it comes to this encounter. So however these aliens did it, they absolutely did it brilliantly, if you could call it that. Like they abducted these people out in the open and nobody was the wiser. Creepy stuff when you think about it. Now, the user did go into one last set of details. They were alluding that this was happening when it was later found out that the mom was pregnant. So was this user part of that abduction? Like, was the pregnancy involved with it? They don't think they were. Ancestry didn't reveal anything. MRIs didn't reveal anything either. And I don't think that's the case either as well. But who knows? But if they provide more updates, I'll be able to share it here later. But let us know what you think. Have you ever heard of that? An alien abduction at a rock concert. This is definitely a first. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.